morning. Okay, so I'm about like 14 and a half weeks out. That's the update there, but I think there's going to be 2 videos this week because I did have some other fun topics that I've just been excited about to share. I've been getting a lot of questions, comments about like people doing their first show and way to make their first show better. I have in the past, done a video about everything I wish I knew as a first-time competitor, like 2 or 3 years ago. It's been a long time. So throughout the day, I wanted to chat about things that I fucked up my first, second, third prep and things I wish I knew. I think it took me longer than most to understand what was needed to be a winner and a good competitor, and I want you to learn from my mistakes. Of course, as always, mainly when it comes to bodybuilding, my IG DMs are always open. If you have any questions, you're doing your first show, need any tips, tricks, please feel free to reach out. But hopefully this video helps you a little bit, and if you are competing soon or thinking about it, this is definitely a good video for you. And make sure to subscribe because I post everything bodybuilder and competitor. Now, some things are going to be more extreme than others, so there's no particular order on what's more important and what's less important. One thing is coffee. Okay, for some reason, I thought it was a good idea my first, like, untracking almond milk and putting milks and things into my coffees and being like, oh, it's only 30 calories for almond milk. Like, I don't need to track that. Track it. Track your coffee. Obviously, black coffee is fine. Sugar-free syrup in there is fine. Stevia is fine. I would start getting used to black coffee if you don't like black coffee before prep starts because, girl, you can't be having some oat milk and almond milk in your coffee. So definitely my first, second show, I thought doing almond milk lattes was more than fine. Just don't do it. Same thing on like drinks and like things like that. Of course, it's okay in moderation. I think I would drastically overdo it. There are some energy drinks that are higher calorie than others. Keep that in mind. Just because it says sugar-free doesn't mean it's prep friendly. So like sugar-free Red Bull, don't even touch a sugar-free Red Bull. I used to go out with friends to the bar and I was like, oh, if I'm not gonna drink because I'm on prep, I'm gonna get a sugar-free Red Bull. No, you're not, okay? No, you're freaking not, okay? This is my first prep. That was so stupid of me. But keep in mind, I was like 18, 19, and I just didn't understand the way of a prep. Sugar-free doesn't mean 0 calorie, and I think that kind of gets mixed together. It's not that, you know, a sugar-free something is bad if you're trying to like bring down the sugar amount, but I do have energy drinks and like low-calorie drinks in moderation. I actually got these yesterday, so we're actually gonna do a little taste test because I've been seeing these everywhere. I just ended up getting this is the sparkling ice. They're 5 calories, so although it says 0 protein, 0 carbs, 0 fat, there's something in there. It's still 5 calories. I don't know, bro. They're rounding error. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You can't have no water and just drink a bunch of like Gatorade Zeros and sparkling waters because I don't know, some of y'all might know this, but there's a percentage of variance they can have on their nutrition labels that makes it that they can put 0. I think it's like 15 if I'm right. It's like a percentage basically. So there's a lot of foods like 0 calorie sauces that I might put 0 just to like give that healthy like feeling, but it's actually like 15, 20. So that's why we like, even though it says 0, we keep it in moderation because if everything we're not tracking, every drink and everything like that, every energy drink that says 0 is 15 calories, you could, I don't know. I mean, if you have like 5, you could be up to like 70, 80 calories extra of what you weren't allotting, which might seem minuscule, but this is for prep, okay? I want to do a warning on this. This is for prep. Okay, when I'm normal cutting, I'm not tracking the amount of energy drinks and the amount of like ices, these like sparkling ices I'm having. I'm not. I'll have a sugar-free Red Bull. I'll put almond milk in my coffee. I'm gonna warn that now. Big warning. This is for prep. A lot of these things I don't care about when I'm just normal cutting. Okay, we're gonna try a new flavor. So this is peach nectarine. I know I'm gonna like this. It's okay. That let me down. Let's try one more. I'll sip. Sip taste test. We're gonna try coconut pineapple. Smells good. Oh, that one's good. Okay, this one's good. I don't like the peach nectarine. I tried fruit punch last night. Those ones are both good. This one's probably gonna be my favorite, but I love pineapple. Talking about coffee and things like that, I also want to mention, use caffeine and melatonin. I don't take melatonin right now, but I might at the end of prep. Use them as a tool. If you don't need it, I wouldn't. My pre-workout, like don't overdo it at the beginning is what I'm trying to say. I use caffeine-free pre-workout I just have 1 cup of black coffee a day pretty much right now. Sometimes I'll have teas and things, but most of my teas are non-caffeinated. I just try to keep things as little as possible because there's gonna be a time you have no energy and you're gonna need caffeine to like keep your day going. So try to keep it limited at the beginning. And going into prep, like maybe in the off season, start to limit it because you're going to need it once you get like pretty deep in. I do a cup of black coffee, caffeine-free pre-workout. If I have a really bad day and I really can't get myself into the gym, guess what? I can use a caffeine pre-workout and it's going to make the workout so much better. But having that option is really, really nice. Same with melatonin. I really wouldn't use it if you don't need it. I would just start going to bed early, try to get it really consistent, do what we have to do. At the end of prep, you might need it. So I just tell people, like, if you don't need it, don't use it until you do need it. You might need it. It is what it is. It's not like gonna make or break. That's definitely not gonna make or break a prep. But I wish in the past I didn't shovel down caffeine as much at the beginning when I really didn't need it. I don't need a caffeinated pre-workout. Let's be honest. And it would be like 350 milligrams of caffeine for what? On that note, okay, don't be having, because we're talking about sleep and things like that in a minute, don't have caffeine after like noon. I wouldn't. It stays in your system for like 10 to 12 hours, okay? It will impact your sleep. If you're having caffeine at 3 p.m., you might think it's still the day. It will impact your sleep. For a lot of people, I stop having caffeine really around like noon, 11 a.m., and I really don't have it past that. I tell my clients after 2, I wouldn't have caffeine, depending on when they go to sleep. But keep that in mind. It does, I didn't know this because I would have caffeine at like 7 p.m. and then try to get myself to go to sleep. And I'm like, why can't I sleep? Like I did cardio, I worked the caffeine off. No, you did it, okay? So even though you could probably get to sleep, you're probably gonna have less deep sleep, less recovery because of that. So just keep that in mind, please. It will help, I promise. I'm gonna stick to tips for the first prep. So if you'll want an updated like part 2 of this for like seasoned athletes, I will. When I tell you, I just didn't think it mattered what I was doing into when I started prep. I was like, oh my God, look at my delt. Okay. Anyways, I can need a lot look, so I'm gonna be checking myself out the whole time. Anyways, so I felt like I needed to get everything out of the way, like a couple weeks before prep started. Like if I'm gonna travel, if I'm gonna eat off, if I'm gonna celebrate, I needed to get it done. And then the day prep start, I like dropped everything, right? Now, I'm a very extremist, if you couldn't tell. I can cut things off so fast, like I can change a habit in a day. Like if I put my mind to it, it's done, you know, and powerful, but it makes prep exhausting. If you think about it, if you're like first not really strict in the off season, don't have these habits. I have these habits and routine. I still lift and I did all my shit, but like, it was different. Like I wasn't having a good like sleep schedule. I wasn't focusing on digestion. Like I wasn't focusing on meal timings, food sources. And going into my first prep and my second prep and my third prep, like I always felt like this is the only season. I feel like I finally got it right. That's why I'm sharing it. I feel like I always went into it and I was like, I need to get my travel and stuff over. Literally last prep, I was in Hawaii up until like a week before prep started. Like for 2 weeks, like fully in Hawaii. And just not tracking. Just obviously it's awesome to enjoy, but don't do that a week before you start prep, okay? You know when you come back from a vacation and you are like, you need like a week to even like get back on track because you've been away and like free for all, you know what I mean? That's just normal, right? Why do that leading into your prep when you should be feeling like on top of the world and like ready to tackle the changes, right? Just, you need a month at home, okay, if possible. Traveling for work and things like that is normal and like, but stay consistent, okay? Get all your stuff done. Go to the gym. Do your steps, do your cardio, start working on meal timings, having 4 or 5 meals a day, because when you start prep, then you're just gonna feel like things are so different and it can get overwhelming, like very overwhelming very fast. And that's where you fuck up, right? We don't want any fuck ups on prep, okay? I won't act like all my preps were perfect, okay? I won't, that's why I'm making this video. And I fucked up a lot. And I feel like your habits can get super overwhelming and all this new stuff can get super overwhelming your first couple preps if you're not taking off season seriously. One thing you are doing right, you're watching this freaking YouTube video. This is just, you're gonna think I'm absolutely insane, but I went into my first show. I had no idea what I was doing, which it honestly might have made it more like carefree, hee, but I was not competing to win. Like, I had never, I mean, I'm a competitive person, so now I'm like, why the heck did I even like set myself up to fail? But I had never watched a YouTube video. I had never watched a show, a bodybuilding show in like I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I'm so sure, like I'm so serious. But I was competing in like 2020, okay, before COVID. No, like it was very niche to compete, and so I knew no one that competed. Like I reached out to somebody that was the one person I knew that was local in my town, that competed, and she just went pro this year, like 4 years later, right? It's a process. I wish I watched YouTube videos. I wish I went to a bodybuilding show. So if this is something you're thinking about and not sure if you can handle, okay, hire a coach first. I would. Even if, like, think about this is what I tell my clients too. It's like, even if you don't want to compete, like if we get a year in and you're like, it's just not for me, you don't have to. You don't. And you got the habits, you got the education about off season and growing and putting muscle on. You put some size on with your coach, right? You work with them 6 months a year, you got the progress you wanted to see, but I don't want to compete. That's totally fine, right? You don't have to work with the coach anymore if you like, competing is not for me. Some people will stay with the coach for that accountability to grow, right? But if you're like, I don't need it, totally makes sense. But if you're thinking about it, hire a coach, start putting some size on, and then go to a bodybuilding show. If your coach has some other clients that compete, your coach competes, go to watch a show. When your client, like your friends and your bodybuilding like team is competing, or friends you know at the gym, it's so fun to watch and such a good experience. And watch lots of bodybuilding YouTube videos, right? Not just the show day, because guess what? We're all on freaking adrenaline. You need to watch like the 4 to like 15 weeks out time frame, right? Because once I get closer than like 4, yeah, I'm already done the work. I'm peeled. I might have a pound more to lose in a month. But all I'm doing is practicing posing, dialing things in, and that's really awesome if you're super set and competing. But I think a lot of people will watch a bunch of bodybuilding videos of like show day, and they're like, I want to do that. Well, guess what? A show day is 1 day out of 6 months. Like, actually insane. Okay, so I wanted to mention meal plan versus macros. So, because I talked about how I'm on macros, quote unquote, right now on this prep. But I'm not. Like every other prep I've done completely macros, right? I wouldn't consider this one a macro prep because I'm just writing my own meal plan, you know, with the macros given. However, I wish I never did a macro prep. If your coach gives it to you as an option, just don't, okay? Don't. Unless you're highly advanced and want to write your own meal plan, that I understand. Like having food sources that you enjoy, like that makes a lot of sense. But do not just like, oh, I'm having cravings for this food, I'm going to fit it in. No, okay? Just don't do it. Your cravings will go away over time. Okay, they will, but you have to force yourself for like a month or two, the first like 8 weeks of prep, just to like chug along, and then your body just gets so used to it, you don't crave all those foods anymore. But if you're constantly trying to like make things fit in when your cravings get really bad and you don't fight them while food is high at the beginning, it's gonna make the end atrocious because you have no macros to fit them in anymore, right? So this is what I would do. Think, of course, of some foods that you enjoy and don't enjoy. If you don't like tilapia and you don't like avocado, you shouldn't have to have them in your meal plan. Work with your coach. They should work with you. And if there's food sources that you don't like, don't enjoy, do enjoy to an extent, okay? If you think that is going to make you be able to stick on this meal plan for the full time of prep, do it. You have to realize I don't switch up my food sources at all, okay? It is easy to get burnt out of food sources. It's easy to get burnt out. Everybody gets burnt out on chicken at the end of prep. Everybody gets burnt out of egg whites at the end of prep. You just kind of get used to it. I'm not gonna lie, like you just kind of get over it. You need to enjoy your foods, okay? There's not a difference realistically if your body's digesting it well between doing chicken and rice for a meal and tilapia and rice. Like the macros are different, obviously, don't come for me. But you know what I mean? Like if your body digests it equally, there's no reason to be forcing yourself to eat like a food source you don't like at all, right? As long as it's whole foods and within range, talk with your coach. Like I talk about with when I do my what I eat in a day videos, I still eat foods, like all my meals I highly enjoy. I feel like y'all can probably see it. I really enjoy the meals I'm eating, but number one, I use some of the tips I said before. I went into my prep for about a month eating these food sources, right? Getting used to them, finding meals that I enjoy that is whole foods, not giving in to a bunch of cravings, eating whatever I want, eating out all the time, so that my body got used to these foods. And then I started to kind of like find enjoyment in like the whole foods and the small things, you know? But if you're always giving into cravings, eating all these meals off, going into prep, and then you go into prep, you're macro tracking, just trying to make things fit in, you're never forcing yourself to truly get uncomfortable, and you're just eating in like a calorie deficit. And then you're gonna get to a point where food's so low, nothing fits, and cravings are gonna be out of the roof. And then I feel like, truthfully, it causes a lot of binging and stuff post-show, because you're just like not letting yourself, like you let yourself have kind of whatever you wanted for so long. Right now we're trying, I talked about this last video, but obviously that's not the only reason because of binging, but I'm just saying, so don't come for me there, but I'm just saying that your mind has to get used to your food sources being fuel and not dopamine. I talked about this last video, but just mentioning it again. So you need to give your body time on a meal plan and getting used to these food sources, and it's going to take a time of intention. A lot of my clients, I put a meal plan like for a couple weeks before prep starts, so that way they're not figuring out the issues of their meal plan on prep, right? I don't want you to try the meal plan the first week of prep, first couple weeks of prep, and then be like, oh wow, this doesn't digest, you know? I want you to be already liking these foods, you're already used to them, you've already been eating these foods for 2-3 weeks. You're just going into prep and all you're doing is dropping your carbs by a little bit. That's easy work. Easy freaking work. Macros versus meal plan. I would just do a meal plan. Mainly when it's your first prep, your coach knows more. Just give them a list of food sources you don't like, maybe a couple that you do. Although my clients are giving me some food sources that they do enjoy that is not prep friendly, I'm not putting it in there, right? But I'm still trying to keep in mind some of the food sources they like. Prep realistically is an extension of kind of your normal routine. So we want the meal plan, just keep you consistent. But also think about it like this, okay? When your cravings are highest in prep, do you want the brain room to think about what am I able to eat right now? What can I fit in my macros right now? And you start to think a lot about cravings. When you have meal plan, all you're thinking about is, like there's no giving into it. It's just there. You just gotta get over it. My next meal's at this time. So I highly encourage meal plan. I wish I did it. This is my first prep doing meal plan. And I think all my other preps would have been better if I didn't do macros. Now, when it comes to meal timing, right? Before prep starts, I would get the times down you're eating. If you're eating 4 meals, I like to do 9, 1, 5, like after work 5, and like 8. That's my meal times. When I do 5, which is what I'm doing right now because I switched up my meals, I do 9, noon, 3, 6, 8:30, around that time. 3 hours between my meals when I'm doing 5 meals, and 4 hours between my meals when I'm doing 4 meals. You get the deal. Really, even when I'm cutting, this is very helpful, like doing just a cut for lifestyle. When you have a certain number of meals, okay, let's go back to meal plan. When you have a certain number of meals and you have a distinct time that you eat your next meal, even if you're like a little hungry, you don't like get the need to snack because you're like, man, I just need to distract myself for an hour because I'm literally gonna eat at noon, right? Or I'm like, oh man, I'm hungry, like no, you can't fit a snack in because you're eating in 2 hours. Like just get back to work. No snacks, get back to work. And I think that helps a lot. I wish I this is the first time ever in my life that I put hours down to my food. I don't know why. Why did I never do that? I don't know. Remember the last time I did a show was in 2022. It's been a long time, so don't judge me, but I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. I wish I put my meal timings down before. It keeps you consistent. And not even just for a mental, but your digestion, your meal timing and everything like that is so helpful just for your body to get used to these food sources on meal plan, and just, it's just powerful having those meal timings. But same with eating it early or before bed. I would not have a meal like right before you walk into bed. You don't want to wake up, feel bloated. You want your food to be totally digested. So I have my last meal about 8:30. I go to bed like 10:30. Okay. I try to be like, have eaten my food 2 hours before I go to bed. Obviously not possible for everybody. I had some clients that were like, I obviously work until a certain time. I come back, eat, go to the gym, come back. I can't have my dinner till 9. Totally fine. Eat it as soon as possible before, okay? An hour before you go to bed, you know, an hour and a half before you go to bed. Just makes things so much smoother. Your body has time to digest it before you're laying down for the night. You honestly are probably gonna wake up tighter, you're gonna feel better. So is making an appearance.
Hello.
Video editor.
New video up.
GDFIT 1 employee.
Yeah, for real. #1 employee. I was employee of the month this month, actually.
He just started editing my videos again last month, so that's why he's the employee.
Fair.
Okay, Parsa told me I need to talk about this because it's so real. So, another touch on traveling on prep, right? Not even just before prep, on prep. Obviously, you can't control if you are working and have to travel for work, right? Keep it in moderation if you can. Now, the amount of stress you are putting your body and your mind on traveling on prep is crazy, okay? You get very dehydrated when you're flying, okay? And it's just mental stress, okay? Cortisol and stress in your head impacts your body. It does. I'm just gonna put it there. I'm just gonna that. So your stress of traveling, packing, all of that will make a difference, okay? If you can control not leaving the house on prep, don't go anywhere, right? I'll drive home, which is like a 4-hour drive, of course. And I'll do moderation work, travel, things like that. But I'm drastically reducing my travel, okay? Drastically. I have not gone anywhere since prep started, nowhere. I have 1 trip all of prep and I'm keeping it to 1 because it's work related, right? But I think a lot of people like think it's not a big deal, and before prep starts, they start planning trips at like 8 weeks out. You don't know how you're gonna feel, okay? You could feel perfectly fine and that's amazing and you have the energy, but you could feel dead. I have clients that feel dead at 6 weeks out, and if they had to travel, they would go insane, okay? Be in your best interest. Maybe wait until you see how you feel as you're getting closer. And imagine if you're gone for a weekend, it's a little easier, to be honest, because less food and things to bring, less things to worry about. But when you're traveling and it's like for a week, you have to bring so much food. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot. I just wouldn't do it because I did it and I don't do it. Mainly for me, stress makes a huge impact on my body. That's something I've learned. My sense of traveling did impact my last preps. So I have to think finding gyms. That's gonna be hard. Finding grocery stores, making sure your hotel has a microwave. Not a lot of them do. If you are gonna travel, this is tips. Make sure you're bringing most of your food with you. I pre-cook all of my meats and everything as I normally do. Put them in a big Ziploc bag, huge gallon Ziploc bag, freeze them, okay? Now, and then I put them in my checked bag. Keep in mind, this is only when I'm doing 2-3 hour flights. If you're doing 6-7 hour flights, you're just gonna have to bring your meals for the day and get food when you're there and cook it there, okay? But this is something else I wanna say. Now, brands matter. I wish I knew this. I wish I knew this, and this is something I'm sharing. Now, brands between even whole food sources and things like that matter to an extent. Obviously oatmeal, like cooked chicken breast, not a big deal. If you're switching, like if you normally make your rice and you make your potatoes at home, if you travel and then you buy minute rice and like basmati Ben's rice, there is a lot of added fats there is added fats in there and things that weren't normally in there. So keep that in mind as well. Cook everything as normal when you're traveling. Bring everything as normal when traveling. Or talk with your coach if it's not possible and be like, hey, for my meal plan this week, can we allot in, this is obviously for not like 4 weeks out, can we allot in maybe the extra fats that are in these minute rices because I'm traveling 7 hours for work and it's just literally not possible. You have to travel for work and it is super insane long flight. You can't bring any food with you. You can't even, that's what we have to do. We have to make a new meal plan for your travel days. And then you make food when you get there. I would just try not to and try not to plan anything on prep. You can plan 1,000,001 things for once prep ends. And it is so worth the wait, oh my God. But traveling on prep is just not worth it. There's weddings I'm not going to. There's things I'm not going to because the travel time, like it's just not worth it on my body, mainly for how close I'm gonna be to my show. And this is so important to me that, you know what, like I'm willing to make the sacrifices. Not some things you're not, like you need to do it and it's not worth the sacrifice. And that's why I'm giving you tips. So also 1 liter of water for every hour in the air. It's gonna keep you from being dehydrated. So drink lots of water when you're on the plane. If you are driving, obviously a lot easier. Bring in an igloo cooler drive. That is awesome. That makes things so easy. But when we get to flight, that's when it gets tricky. I would look ahead of time for gyms, look ahead of time for hotels that have grocery stores nearby. Call the hotel, see if they have a microwave. If you're doing an Airbnb, try to get one with a stove. That makes things so much easier. And you can just cook all your foods there. Okay. Big rant there. But that's how much I wish I realized the importance of just like staying freaking at home. Some people, it makes no impact on their body, and that is amazing, but it makes a huge impact on my body. And this prep has gone so much better because I've stayed my butt at home. Okay, so I read another thing. Weigh everything. I know this is probably something you don't really think about, but the serving sizes on things are not always correct. When you get to bread, how can you assume every piece of bread is gonna be the same weight? I know this seems like so extreme, but weigh everything. Mainly protein powder. Like if someone, they say, I would weigh it, right? So if your coach is allotting like 1 serving of this protein powder, instead of doing a scoop, I'm weighing 32 grams out. It's just for accuracy. I've even tried it and like seen how much a scoop is always different. Every single time. It can be like a 20 gram difference with how much you're putting into your scoop. So weigh everything. Mainly protein powders and like supplements. But I mean, most likely you're not having a bagel and like stuff really when you get deep on prep. That's less needed. And it should be a little bit more accurate, but like things where I've seen a lot of inaccuracy is like sliced bread and things that are cut. Very, very different. So if you happen to have like Ezekiel bread or something, I would weigh it. Just to, you can never be too sure. Sometimes I've weighed it and I'm like, oh, it's under. I'm gonna get another half of the slice of bread, and then I weigh it. I'm like, oh, nice. Like I get more today because of the small slice. So just weigh it. It doesn't mean you're gonna like lose food, but this is better for accuracy. Weigh your protein powders. I feel like that's the most important stuff. This video is literally just turning into breakfast with Georgia while I talk. But okay, let's talk sleep. Sleep, so important. You will not believe what I did my first prep. For no reason, I was just doing school and I was studying all day. I would work out at midnight and do my cardio and everything, like at night, like 10, 11 p.m. till like 2 a.m. I would get everything done. Now during this time as well, mainly my first prep, at the beginning, yeah, I started studying, but then it was the summer. I would just work like 10-hour days. And because of that, because I was working, actually it was like 12, it was like 8 to 8. Because I was working so much, I thought it was fine to go home, chill, eat, then go to the gym. Like it got done, what does it matter? No. I wish I forced myself to do it in the mornings and did not allow myself to do that. Your circadian rhythm matters for your recovery largely, okay? I force myself to go to bed at 10:30 right now, if not earlier, okay? And then I'm up, I mean, earliest like 6, really. It's like normally like 7:30. So keep that in mind, okay? Don't be lifting, I just wish someone told me this. Don't be lifting at midnight. Don't do it, okay? If you can do it earlier, do it in the morning.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. I wish. I still wish I just woke up at like the 4 or 5 a.m. and just did it. Like got out of the way. Because my workouts, my cardio would have been so much better. It's not because it's getting done, whatever. Yes, but my workouts were worse. I wasn't able to give my 100% all to my cardio and to my training because I was exhausted from working all day. I just wish I forced myself to get up and just get it done. And I feel like I would have been a lot more happy with how I performed in my training. I think even at like 16 weeks out, I was like just trying to get it done. It shouldn't be like that. You still should be training hard and have that intensity. And I just wasn't able to give it because I was doing it at midnight, okay? And after a long day. So sleep matters, okay? You need to be getting like that 6 to 10 hours of sleep minimum, and training earlier and doing cardio earlier in the day. Gym and your cardio, I separate them. I get asked a lot why people do fasted cardio, It is because if you do it fast in the morning and then you have a few meals in you, then you can lift and you're giving as much energy as possible to both. If you do them back to back, something's going to suffer. You can't do an hour of working out and then an hour of cardio. And first, if you do it that way, you're more likely to just skip it, okay? If you do cardio before and then you work out, your workout's probably gonna suck. Separate them so you're able to give your 100% all. I wish I knew my first show that like I shouldn't be doing it at 1 a.m. after my workouts every single day, and I was highly likely to skip them because of it. Or I would just like, my mind couldn't do it and I would give up and I would cut off like 10 minutes and I didn't think it would be a big deal. I'm making this extreme, like I did, obviously I did fine, like it is what it is, but I wish I knew my first show to separate them and just give each one their 100% attention, because every workout, every cardio session matters. And yes, that cutting up 5 minutes off matters. You're on prep, it matters. It could matter between first and second place at your show if you gave every cardio session what it needed. Hard truths, hard freaking truths, but we need to be giving 110% all to win, at least for cardio and your workouts, because you can still put on muscle during prep. I mean, as you get deeper and your energy is low and food is low, probably not as much, but we're trying to maintain too. It is easy to lose muscle in prep because you're cutting down so fast and so hard. We have to keep that training intensity up so we don't lose muscle mass. All you want to do is put on all that muscle and put all that work in the off season and then lose it on prep. Because we're doing cardio now, I'm gonna do some cardio tips. I wanna say a couple things. First, cover the amount of time that you're on. Not seeing how much time is left helps so much. I look at the distance and I know it's usually over like 3 miles is when I get within that like 10-minute mark left. So once this hits 3 miles, usually I'll like let myself see the time, the type of cardio you're doing, and how high your heart rate matters. And this is not something I knew kind of my first show. So basically the level, your whole prep should not be the same. And like how fast you're going on the cardio equipment. I give my clients like a beat per minute that the heart rate needs to be in range. Normally, we try to do moderate intensity, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, but if it's moderate, we aim for 145 to 165 beats per minute. Meaning, honestly, like you're probably gonna have to keep upping your level the first couple weeks of prep as you get good into better cardio health. So pretty much every like few days or like every week I'm having to up a level. What we don't want to do is keep the level the same the entire prep, and basically we're burning more calories at the beginning when we're not in as good cardio shape than the end. So make sure you're tracking your heart rate if you can. If not, these things are pretty accurate, but just checking what your heart rate's at, make sure it's not too low, and I try not to let my heart after the first couple of minutes be below that 145 beats per minute. You might find you're having to put a full sweats on and really be like sprinting to get your heart rate up there. But once we're getting up to like that hour time on the Stairmaster or elliptical, whatever you're doing, we don't want to be losing less calories because our intensity is not high enough. We just finished. I don't know if you can tell how dead I am. He just licks all the sweat off of me. How dare I leave you alone for 55 minutes? That is so rude of me. He's the cutest boy in the entire world. I love him. One thing I think a lot of people also don't think about, like I was talking about drinks earlier and like the extra calories in drinks, sauces. And in that part, digestion. So let's just stay away from Walden Farms. I'm gonna say it right now, just stay away from it, okay? I understand to an extent, like with me, energy drinks and like Mio and stevia and things like that. Walden Farms it kills your digestion on prep. Sauces add up, okay? You'll see a lot of people doing like mustard and sugar-free ketchup. Really, I feel like that's not a huge deal in moderation. Like usually I'll just get obviously approval from your coach if you're allowed to have it. But usually hot sauces and Tabascos and srirachas and mustards, you can pretty much not track. When you come to like sauces, you'll see a lot of like the low calorie sauces that are like 20 to like 50 calorie low sauces, but it's for a tablespoon. Just don't even use them. Stay away from them. I know it's hard. You have to get used to having like dry foods. Just stay away from them, okay? The extra calories add up. It's just not worth the strife. And then if you feel like your meats and stuff are super dry and it's not good without it, try different ways to cook it. Sorry. I really like pulled chicken, and before I started using Trifecta, I would do pulled chicken like in a crock pot. And I felt like once I drained it and everything from the water and like was able to weigh it correctly, I feel like it was juicier than if I was cooking on the stove because of just some weird thing about cooking meat. But play around with it. Just try to get the cook right, because it's easy for whole foods to taste terrible if you're a bad cook. I learned that from, I used to hate vegetables just because I didn't know how to cook them. So keep in mind sauces, they add up, and keep in mind that how you cook things matters. Seasonings and cooking it just like correctly is gonna make things taste a lot better. I love smoked paprika, onion, garlic powder, salt, pepper. Those are my favorite seasonings. Seasonings are fine, sauces really aren't. All of that said and done, I think I've touched on everything I wanted to talk about. It was kind of a yapping YouTube video, I'm not gonna lie. But I just kind of wanted that to be like my full like rant thoughts of what I wish I did. If you're thinking about competing, start as soon as possible hiring a coach. Like I said earlier, same when you're with a coach and you're like pretty serious, start working with a posing coach. I worked pretty early on. It was literally once every other month, once a month. But it made my check-ins more accurate, and then it made my posing even easier later on. I think people, like for some people, if you're a dancer, posing comes naturally. For us, like normal folk, it does not come naturally, and walking in the heels alone is hard. So start practicing and enjoy it. This is my one last thing, this is where I'm gonna leave it. I think you kind of have been able to kind of see the mindset change this prep versus other preps if you've been around a while. And I wish I had my mindset now that I have now 2 years ago. And I think it came with me growing up, and you know, like I started so young. And do I wish I started older? Not really. Like, I do think bodybuilding has created the person that I am now, and I would not have started any later. I am very happy with the path that took me into bodybuilding and getting serious, and I just wish I knew these things when I first started. But like I said, number one thing I wish I knew was I wish I knew how much your mind controls your progress. Please comment any more questions that you would have. I would love to do future Q&As where I'm just asking questions that y'all have had about bodybuilding preps and just in general. So maybe I'll compilate a whole video of like y'all's questions. I think I might put it on my story too sometime soon, like a Q&A bodybuilding questions. But I felt like I had a lot to say this video, that hopefully it helped some of your questions. But I'm not gonna talk anymore. This was a really long video. I'm not sorry. Hopefully this helped some of y'all. Love y'all.